Welcome to NeedleXChange, conversations on the art of thread. My name's Jamie Chalmers, aka Mr. X-Stitch, and in this episode I'm interviewing Renan Estivan, a São Paulo-based contemporary embroidery and textile artist known for queer tapestries that put the male body at their centre. In this first part of our interview, we talk about his origin story, his mum's Arraíolos, nearly butchered that, rugs, and the skills that she passed on, the move from cross-stitching to tufting, why he's been deliberately slowing his practice back down, and how his work is placed inside a Brazilian tapestry lineage that runs through Kennedy Bahia, Leonilson, and Tropicália. Renan's a lovely guy with some incredible work, and we'll dig into the nature of his work next week. But if you've not followed him on Instagram, you are missing a treat. Quite a graphic treat, I will not fail to mention, but it is a treat, and he's amazing. I'll be back next week with the second part of our conversation. If you're able to leave a review on your favourite podcasting platform, well, that would be marvellous. But for now, enjoy the show. I would like to start by asking you, if I may, about your mum, because my understanding is that your work honours a tradition, and I'm going to get this wrong, but Arraíolos rugs? Is that pronounced correctly? That's not pronounced correctly, is it?
Arraíolos in Portuguese.
Thank you.
Yes, it's a traditional Portuguese technique of doing tapestry. And it was the technique that my mom worked. My mom teach me how to embroidery, and I learned a lot with her. She's not with us anymore, but since I was a kid, there is a lot of tapestries made by my mother, and my grandfather collected these tapestries at our house. She teach me the value of the manual crafts. Mm-hmm. And I guess it is absolutely a way that I connect with my mother still. Before she died, she was working with this. We lived in a small town near to São Paulo, which is a big city. And she was working with brands that send the clothes for her to sew, to embroidery. And I was watching how she makes this count for us, for our living. And okay, then time has passed. Then during the pandemics, we were living in different cities, me and my mother, and this technique was a way for us to connect, doing exactly what we're doing right now, talking to each other in video calls, and me doing my embroideries at home and she doing her embroideries. And it was a start of something big, something that I'm doing until now. And she's very important for me for many things, but especially for teaching me how I can appreciate what I'm doing, how I can appreciate what I know, the techniques that I'm learning. And this is very important for my work.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. I am a parent, and I sometimes remember when I was a child, there were just things, like I think about it as a parent and I think we've got lots of pictures on the walls and we've got cross stitches on the walls and they're just there. And so my children, that's just what they know. They're just there. And the thing I'm interested in is how much did your mum explain like the value of them and the significance of them? Did she dig under the surface? Because with my kids, they just accept that there's this graffiti cross stitch on the wall. I haven't really gone, so darling, I made this and this is why. And maybe I'll get to that when they're a bit older, but I wonder how much of that your mum imparted to you when you were younger, or was that something that you revisited, like you say, during the pandemic?
Maybe it was more me watching her and noticing how it worked for her. Like she really appreciated what she was doing, and she really took the time, spend hours during the weekend making these tapestries. And it was nice to see how this craft was important to her and how it helped her. Like she was very proud of this. If you go back to the album photos that my grandmother held, And there is tapestries that photos of tapestries that my mother did back then, and we still hold these tapestries as a memory. So I learned this importance, like the importance of hold your passion and make what you like to do. Like she was an artist, and this is the way that she passed this craft to me. But of course, during the pandemics, it was an important moment because in pandemics we are not doing much, right? We are like all alone and doing a few things because we are stuck in our houses. And then I saw by myself the importance of what she was doing, what she was trying to pass to me. That is the moment, the importance of the moment. And I think until now, every piece that I made, it took 2, 3, 4 weeks. I try to appreciate the moment, like until they're finished. They are with me, like day by day, all day long. I think about them and I am enjoying it. Many times I'm not enjoying because it's difficult or any other reasons, but
Yeah.
I am enjoying the moment. Like I enjoy doing this.
Yeah. And it's nice that you see that, because maybe those are the reflections, aren't they? It's not about the depth of it, but it's like the visual thing, I guess. You seeing your mum practicing, it being something that's very calm. I guess she was probably a fairly calm person at the end of those processes because of that.
Not at all. She like no, not at all. She was like a traditional Brazilian girl, woman, like the party, like the beer, like the street, everything. But this is like a particular moment of her. I guess this is why it's so important. And a memory that I have that is holding me to the tapestry back then is like how the textile things hold sensations like textures and smells and all these things. Maybe this is just a memory, but it's a way of connection as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, smell is a real memory connector anyway, I guess. And
Yes.
so are you saying that, say, with your mother's tapestries, there are still smells of her, which sounds wrong, but you know what I mean?
Yes, or she smelled tapestry all along.
Yeah. So then but you studied design then, you graduated from design in 2017. Was that always a thing it was going to be? Were you like inspired by your parents to do it? Was an innate desire to become a designer?
Not really. All my family have really industrial background, and I don't know, with my cousins maybe we are the first generation that broke this tradition and go to arts, go to communication. And when I was in high school, I was thinking, of course, how to make money of my work, but how to be creative and how to be out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
A design was a course that allowed me to think how to work in industry, perhaps, but I was interested by how to be creative. Like my wish was to make arts, study arts, but I was not like my family was not supporting me for this decision because they have even in Brazil, much more in Brazil, I think we have the view that the art is not a good way to work, it's not a safe way to work. So I choose design as a way to be around creative, but still be around works that give money, and you know that.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, isn't it? So it's almost like if you said, Mum, I want to be an artist, they'd say, can you get a real job? But when you say you're going to be a designer, it's like a more legitimate thing, isn't it? Because they can go, I can see how you can make money out of that. And it's not like you're going to be a starving artist or anything.
Yes, it was important for me as an artist because I graduated as a designer. I started to work like in companies and with publicity, and I make like a base for after this work as an artist. You know, maybe it's a Brazilian thing. I don't know because we don't have much support from government, as I see, for instance, in French. Like the government doesn't support the artists, so we are all independent. We start all independent, and I needed to have something to hold, like a few months, just a paycheck. Yes, and it worked for me. And but still, I have the design. I have a good time studying design because it was a good college. It was at UNESP. It's called UNESP. It's like a state university in Brazil, and they have like a great structure for creative fields. And I get to know a lot of people from different regions of Brazil. Brazil is a really huge country, so I learned a lot. I changed a lot, and it definitely make my expanded my perspectives or on how to be creative. And I started like this project with erotics and queer arted in college, not by the tapestry, but in other formats, you know.
But then you also started looking into textiles while you were around there as well. Is that true?
Yes, yes. Because, you know, design could be very, I don't know the word in English, but very abrangent. I don't know if this is a word. Like many things could be inside the design field. And fashion is one of them. And textiles like prints is one of them. And I started to studying prints, study fashion at my graduation design. You know, my final project was about art, so I really made a turn. I turned a coin in the graduation to make what I wanted to do. But the style was there. Like we have like great professors that work with contemporary design, and contemporary design in Brazil speaks with textiles, speak with communities of women that embroidery and make art crafts. So it really affected my point of view.
Do you think so? You said that the pandemic accelerated or, forced you towards the rug direction and the relationship with your mum. Do you think you were heading in that way? Do you think it would have happened one way or the other, but the pandemic just kind of pushed you into that because you had like time to spare?
Yes, for sure. Like when I graduated, I had in mind that, okay, I will be working with this publicity thing, but I want to find a media of art that I can work with. Like I want to find something that I can make me an artist or take me out of this job that I don't like. I always had the support of my mother because one thing that my mother was visionary. She always tried to, a solo mother of four. She always had to figure out how to make things work, and she always tried new things in fashion, in embroidery, and arts and crafts. That was the things that she was good at, and she really supported me when I graduated to, let things goes and try to find what I like. And then came pandemics, and we had a lot of time. And I was lucky to be living in a neighborhood. At the time, I lived in a city in Brazil that's called Salvador. It's like a city at the northwest.
Mm-hmm.
And I was living in a tiny apartment with my cat, but in a neighborhood that is known by a community of women that sew. So during the pandemics, the stores for this human buy the material was quite open. Like they was able to go to the stores and buy things different for the rest of the city. It was all locked down. So I had the opportunity to buy things to start my tapestry. So my mother, because my mother lived in a smaller city in São Paulo, so it was come to this, like all as the pandemic was the moment for me to pay attention of what I wanted to do, and I have all the things that I needed: support of my mother, free time, the materials, and this is how it worked.
Can you remember when it all clicked? When you just went, "Oh yeah, like this is what was always meant to be," or something?
Yes, I was. My mother was making a piece with cross stitch, like very tiny cross stitch, and I had a draw that I've made a few time ago. There was a pixel art,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and then I thought it was erotic, like a draw that I made inspired by me and my boyfriend at the time. And I thought, oh, this is just like the cross stitch that my mother is doing, but in pixels. So what if I know it's normal. A lot of people do this, but at the time I was like, what if I do this illustration in cross stitch? Then I went to this one of these magazine, there's shops, bought a lot of colors of the line, and it took me like 2 months, I think. And all the time I was doing this. Well, it's not big, but takes time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all the time I was like, oh, people are gonna be shocked by this. Like, people are gonna love, because we are sharing all what we were doing on Instagram during the pandemics. Like the boom of the TikTokers, Instagram. I was just thinking, I'm gonna share this on my Instagram for my, I don't know, 500 followers, and they're gonna love this. This is gonna be a shock for society. And I think this was the start.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, I mean, my background is cross stitch. I made a cross stitch magazine, and then I've always appreciated as well pixel art. Like when I was doing my magazine, I would work with pixel art designers because they're not bound by the same kind of traditions as cross stitch designers, because they don't start doing flowery cross stitch. They start doing video games. And so they just come in from this different point. And then particularly, Jesus, like 10, 12 years ago, some of the, like, I've still got a blog, and it used to have a column called Not Safe for Work Saturdays, where we would have rude things. And there were a couple of people I could think of who would definitely have given you a run for your money in that direction. I've probably seen all of the things that you can see done in cross stitch, but it's just so good though, isn't it? It's so nice when you kind of make those breakthroughs. How did it then go from cross stitch to the kind of tufted rug area? What was that transition?
When I started making these tapestries, one thing that was in my mind was that I wanted to make bigger formats, like bigger tapestries. But I worked like all day long and cross stitch, sorry. Even Arraíolos, that is the technique that I use now.
Mm-hmm.
It takes time. And it was a moment that this machine that I use, the tufting gun, is about this that you
Yeah.
thinking. This tufting gun was becoming popular on TikTok, and a lot of people were doing this. We had like great designers and artists in Brazil using this, and it was my time to try. Then I bought from China one of these, and learned by myself how to make my draws fit in the tapestry language, in the tufting gun language, and it works really well because I really like the result. I like the texture of the tufted tapestry, and it's very appealing to see how it's done. Like people are very interested in see how a carpet is made, right?
Yeah.
And it's very interesting. And I thought at the moment there was a different technique that I could use, and I built all my atelier, my workspace based on how to make these tapestries. I know it's like the other side of the textiles because it's like more rapid, like it's quick. And now I like in making a backwards movement that I try to slow down things, and that's why I bring in the embroidery for my tapestries. And even the tufted ones, I try to make it like more spaced pieces that took longer to be made because I figure out during the process working with tufting that maybe it's too speed, like maybe it's too quickly. I think that because it's a semi-industrial machine that is used to make carpets in large scale, maybe you have to pay attention when we using this for arts, because maybe this get out of the way.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because guns like that, you get a result really quickly, don't you? But slower processes give you more opportunity to alter your course when you're making them, to have the conversation with the art as you make it. rather than just blasting through. I mean, they're brilliant on TikTok, aren't they? You see the guys making the rugs, the wall art, trimming them with their scissors and all of those sorts of things, isn't it? Yeah, that's where you flex the social media. But it's interesting, as you say, to then choose to become more deliberate in your practice. I guess that's what you're saying.
Yes, this is still a very handly and craft technique because you have to trim, you have to make all symmetric, and there is all the finish with the, like a glue and the back part. But it's different from a piece that you are up to during all day long and during all the semaine, all the week, mixing the French, sorry, but during all the week. And I miss it, spending time in pieces, like I'm doing now. I'm doing this art residence and I'm here for 1 month, and I'm gonna make one or two pieces here. And this is really great. Like, it's really great to spend time with these pieces, like make things that took my time and that I gave my energy and gave my patience and then gave my thoughts. Like, I think about these pieces more.
So let's talk about the content. We've talked about the form, then let's talk about the content. My takeaway from looking at your work is that it's about intimacy.
Yes.
A lot of the pieces that you show, obviously there's the queer element to it, but I feel like there are tender moments and then there are moments that are quite like graphic, but you're not sensationalizing it, I don't think. I felt like there's quite a tenderness to it all. Does that sound right?
Yes, it's very intimate indeed.
Mm.
I like to, as many artists, I like to talk about myself, but I like to talk about my desires and my vision, my point of view. And when you're setting a gay body in the center of this point of view, you have to pay attention because it's gonna be mostly sexualized, or it's gonna be not normal. Different if like a straight guy or a straight woman makes self portraits nude. Maybe this kind of art is not going to be as sexualized as art by a queer person. So I talk about personality, about intimacy, about myself, about my partners or the desires that I have in mind. But for being a gay guy talking about this, it always go to a more tenderness way, like a bold way, because most of us are not used to see the gay sex as a thing that is not underground or marginal or dirty, and bring it to tapestry. That the thing that I like the most about my work in tapestry is like it's gay culture in tapestries. Tapestry is a technique that the rich and the royalty used to tell stories, and me and other queer person that are using textile techniques are taking this to tell our own story. Like take this royal technique, this expensive technique to tell our own story. Here is like it's very it's very it's awesome to see here in French, like French, Belgium are the countries of the tapestry. They have really important historical tapestries, and I bring in like in this position of my work of my tapestry, like a Brazilian tapestry, a tropical tapestry, telling queer stories, and I like to see how this works, like how we are shifting this technique somehow.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating, isn't it? There's always this thing about if you want to tell a hard story, but you do it in a soft medium, you can kind of get away with it more because the medium, people have an expectation, they have a presumption about embroidery. And so you can, it works for politics in that way. You can be political, you can drop F bombs. And when it's in needlework, it's more accessible. It's you get the contrast, but I think it's interesting as well because my take on what you're saying as well is you would get these tapestries that would be vignettes of life, wouldn't they? Sometimes particularly big wall hangings, stately homes and people and all of that really, and it was an art form in and of itself. And you're just taking that and providing snapshots of a different culture, But it's that same thing, isn't it? It's the same storytelling. It's just that now you're just dropping a 2026 queer version of it.
Yes. Yes, I love to think my tapestry this way. Like, I don't know. I have my eyes turned to Brazil all the time. And Brazil had a really strong culture of tapestries back in the 16th, 17th with an art movement called Tropicália. It's like where Gilberto Gil, a lot of import artists came from. But there is this textile artist that made this popular tapestries, and there is a lot of tapestry in the Brazilian's house.
Was that Kennedy Bahia? Is that the person?
Kennedy Bahia, we are, yes. Kennedy Bahia is from Salvador. He's not from Salvador, but he worked at Salvador, the city that I was working during pandemics.
Yeah.
And he made very, very popular tapestries.
Yeah, really cool, man.
Yeah, like very tropical and popular. And there's other names like Genaro de Carvalho or Rubico. Leonilson is a queer artist. He made plenty of needlework. He made other formats. He was a drawer, a painter, but he made a lot of needlework like tapestries with queer identity and queer political point of view. He was like, for me, like one of the three most important artists in Brazil is Leonilson, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, so were they like an influence at the back of your head, or is that something that the more you've got into this, the more you've recognized that you're actually part of a tradition?
Yes, it's a really nice thing actually to see how I am taking this Brazilian traditional inside my job, my work, even noticing how they are there all along. But as an artisan, like with these arts and crafts that I took from my mother, or as a queer artist that I learned with this personality, this artist, or a tapestry maker that took this reference. It's very nice how seeing myself and other artists from my generation take this tradition and make contemporary things out of it. And I think it's important for Brazil because in Brazil we have like a really strong art culture. We are a very artist country. We are very artist people, but art is more popular. You know, our arts at the street, are at the parties, our museums are mostly. There is the museums for international art, but it's galleries, contemporary galleries and museums that celebrate the popular art. Mm-hmm. And when we talk about tradition in Brazil, we are talking about popularity. We are talking about things that go to the street. Mm-hmm. And I think this is what I like the most about Brazil contemporary art is taking the popular for the new artists.
Yeah, and it's like you say, it's like ground level. And I guess there's this thing. If I'm right in what you're saying, people like Kennedy Bahia, like their work was very popular, but sort of would appear in a normal domestic setting, perhaps more than in a fine art gallery. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Maybe nowadays there is a movement that I bring back these tapestries for the galleries, but back then in the 60s, 70s, it was very popular. It was like normal. I have a memory when I was a child. I won't remember what age I was, but I was a child. I was with my grandfather in a open air market in São Paulo, where artists sell their arts, and like a thrift shop, they sell old stuff. And my grandfather bought a tapestry from an artist. CAB was the initials, and we didn't know about this artist for like a long time. And I don't know, last year my grandmother said, "Oh, Hannah, there is a tapestry that your grandfather kept here. My grandfather is not with us anymore. Would you like to have this tapestry for your house?" I was like, "Of course, let me see." I didn't even remember how was the tapestry. It's not like in a good, it's not conservated well. And I saw this tapestry, like it worth very much. Like this is from a very famous Brazilian artists back then. And we had this at our home and they didn't even know.
Amazing.
In Salvador, it was normal to go to a house of someone, the mother of someone, and see a Kennedy tapestry hanging on the wall. So yeah, it's very popular. And I think it's actually beautiful. I like to see myself as a popular artist as well. Like I like when people buy my tapestries and to hang them in their houses. Like is awesome to think about how I don't know other gay guys, other queer persons have the opportunity to buy my tapestry and have this piece of art, this piece of tradition, Brazilian tradition, inside their homes. I think this is like is actually beautiful.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? And the thought that I was having as well is that like this stuff was so common. It's a bit like cross stitch, right? It's a bit like cross stitch. Everybody had cross stitch, and so it kind of gets devalued because everybody has it. And then when you get to a point now where you go, well, actually, cross stitch is a legitimate art form, but you really have to push at it to make people see that. It's still quite hard for, particularly cross stitch, textile art, yes, needlework, yes, in some respects, but cross stitch, for someone to have a solo exhibition doing cross stitch is virtually impossible because nobody takes it seriously. And I wonder whether that's something that you find with your chosen medium as well.
Yes, I see this perspective of, I don't know, some techniques in the style like cross stitch or even tufting gun are seen like predictable and easy. Like there's plenty of people that get in touch with me to learn how to make tapestries out of tufting gun, and cross stitch is not a very challenge technique to learn. But I don't know. This week at the vernissage of my exposition, there was a French guy, that was telling me that he does cross stitch as well. Like, and he showed me the art pieces that he's making, and this is like this draws that you buy online, and you just have to fill with the right color. He had this thought like, oh, I'll never make something like you or hang my art in a gallery like you're doing now. And I thought, why not? Like, why not? You are learning this. You are learning a technique. You are learning, above all, how to be an artist. You can make a lot of things out of this. Maybe the technique is not important. Even I think more in contemporary art, I don't know, is a thing that Duchamp taught us. You can make art out of anything. So why not the cross stitch? Why not something that you learned, I don't know, at school or with your grandmother quickly? I think it's how you set your point of view under these pieces, And this is important.
Yeah, and then you have to put in the repetitions. You have to decide, this is my medium. For instance, I interviewed a guy from Sweden called Per Fager, and he does needlepoint cross stitch, but he leans into video games and textile art, and in particular, the backgrounds of video games. So he does these large scale pieces using very traditional stitches, but they will be scenery that in the video game people would have been fighting in front of. But it's almost to like honor the backgrounds and the artistry that went into the video games that people don't see. And he's ended up, same as the next person, same as your man you're talking there. He's just ended up in that path by taking all those steps, and that's how it goes.
Yes, I think becoming an artist is like a journey of self-awareness. You have to know yourself and know what you're up to, know what you like, and side by side with a technique that you learn more and more. Like you have to be good at one technique, but you have to figure out how to put your heart inside this technique, thought out, like think about other ways to use this technique or other media, like this guy that make cross stitch for video games. This is really awesome. Like this is incredible.
Yeah, he's really cool. If I had my brain with me, I'd tell you what episodes of the podcast to go and listen to, but